Hi, and welcome to this 4NAV coffee break. My name is René Brummel. I'm a product specialist at 4NAV, and I will be your presenter today. As this coffee break is live, you can ask your questions via the GoToWebinar question window. We will answer them at the end of the coffee break. Today, we're going to get data based on a document's language. Languages are an essential part of your Business Central reporting. After all, we need to send documents that the recipient can read. 4NAV takes care of these translations for you. However, sometimes we need to get related data from Business Central based on the language that the report is printed in. That is tricky because the language you may want to use may not be a field in the record you are using to get your data. Fortunately, 4NAV can use the report language as a variable in your JavaScript record. To demonstrate how to get data based on a document's language, I'm going to use these steps. Prerequisites: what do I need to get going? In step 2, I will inspect my data. In step 3, I will add a JavaScript record. In the fourth and final step, I will add the language variable to my JavaScript record. Let's start with the first step. Today, I will use a Business Central on-premise server with the Business Central 2023 Wave 1 release. I have installed the Universal Code version of 4NAV, and I have executed the step-by-step wizard from the assisted setup to get started. Of course, everything I do today is also available in the Business Central Cloud environment. I also have the 4NAV Designer installed on my PC. The 4NAV Designer can be downloaded from the 4NAV website. The language property is available in the 4NAV Designer version 7.1 and higher. The first thing we will do is inspect our data. Let's say we want to get some extended text from the item based on the report language. Let's go and have a look at my database. You will notice I've got a Dutch database, which means that some of these texts are not readable for non-Dutch speaking people. So let's translate. We have item 1000, which is the bicycle. And in this item 1000, I have some related data, and in my related data I have extended texts. You will see I've got texts for two languages, one for English, one for Dutch. And if I find the language on my English, you will see it's an all seasons bicycle. That's almost as easy to use as a 4NAV. And in my Dutch text, I've got the same, only it is written in Dutch. And I want to add these extended texts on my report. And of course, I want to add the extended text based on the language code that the user, that the recipient of this document can actually read. So now we know where to get the data from. We can add a JavaScript record and set the correct table record. So go back to Business Central, find our standard 4NAV report, which is the invoice. If I run the report, the invoice, you will find two invoices I have prepared earlier. One in Dutch, which sells the bicycle, and one in English, which sells the bicycle. And of course on the English invoice we want to get the English text. Let's open this report in the 4NAV Designer, where we have just a normal sales invoice. And on the sales invoice, the first thing I'm going to do is add my JavaScript record. And this JavaScript record is going to be the extended text line. And I can get the extended text header as well, but that doesn't have any data that I need for this specific report. So I'm just going to grab the extended text line. I'm going to link it to my sales invoice line. And then of course I need to figure out my data item link. To do that, let's go back to my items real quickly. And from related, get my extended text. Open the text line, inspect page. And you will find that for the sales invoice line, the extended text line, I've got my table name is item, so that's a filter that I'm going to set, and the item number is the number field in my extended text lines. I've also got a language code, which we'll get to later. So I need to set my filter on table name and the link on the number. So in 4NAV, I will set the link to number is going to be the number from the sales invoice line. In where I'm going to specify the filter, and that's going to be table name is table name item, so I only get extended text lines for items. And then I'm going to set my max iteration to 100. Now you may ask why I'm not setting the language code. Of course I can find the language code here in my extended text line fields, but my sales invoice line doesn't have a language code. That's on the sales invoice header, and the sales invoice header unfortunately is not accessible in this data item link because I'm linking to the line. So remove that one, hit OK here, and hit OK here for my extended text line. Then add some space where I'm going to put my extended text line, add a text box for my extended text line. And there we go. Now I'm going to grab data from multiple records because we've got 2 lines in our extended text lines, which means that I'm not quite sure how high my text box is going to need to be. So I'm going to set it to can grow yes with the text alignment top. And let's set my body to can grow yes as well. And let's make my text box yellow. So that's the real estate that I need to put my data in. Now next thing of course is to get the actual data that I'm going to need. To do that I'm going to need to write a little bit of JavaScript because, as I said, I'm going to get data from multiple records, not just a single one. But I've got 2 lines for every language, so I'm going to add a variable which I'm going to assign as an empty array. And arrays are nice because I can just push data into it and use it whenever I need it. Then in my line on after get record, I'm going to read the data and push it into my variable. So first I'm going to reset the variable. It may contain data from the previous line, so we need to reset that one. Then if extended text line field extension text has value, so if there is some value in my extended text line, I'm going to push that into my extended text array. And then while it finds the next extended text line, so for every other extended text line, it's going to push the extended text line text into my array. Finally, I'm going to use the array. So let's open my source expression property, use the extended text variable we created, and then I'm going to call join. Join in JavaScript is a nice way of joining bits of an array together. So I'm going to join all of the values inside my array together with a \n, and a \n is a new line character in 4.5 JavaScript. So that's enough for me to display these text lines on my report. So if I preview my report, you will find that the Dutch invoice now has all of the lines in English and Dutch, and the English invoice has exactly the same. So we have all of this data, but it isn't filtered yet by language. So that's the next thing we are going to do. As we saw, we cannot use a record link for that since the line doesn't have a language field, and even then you may want to print your reports in your user interface language. So we're going to need to filter the record by language. Fortunately, in 4.5 7.1 we can do that. So if I go back to my report, go back to my JavaScript record, go to the extended text line, you will see we have a new property called lock fields to current user or language, which means that I can lock or filter fields based on the language that the report is being printed in or the user that is printing the report. So I can filter these fields by system created by, and that's going to be filtered by the user that is running the report. Now, of course, in this case, I want to filter it by language code that is that the report runs in. Hit OK there. Go back to my preview. You will find that for the Dutch invoice, we've got the Dutch text, and for the English invoice, we have the English text. Let's recap what we just did. We have seen that in Business Central you can add data based on a language code. If we want to use the data from these tables in our reports, we need to determine what language it is that our reports are being printed in. On the properties of JavaScript records, we can lock the language code field of our record to the report's language code. Alternatively, We can also log the user to the user that is running the report. Thank you for listening to me so far. I can see we don't have any questions at the moment, so let's wrap up the coffee break. If you want to know more about 4nav, or if you want to download the 4nav Designer and Converter, please visit our website. If you want to install 4nav in Business Central Cloud, please visit the Microsoft App Source. You can watch more videos about 4nav on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions about 4nav, please email them to support@4nav.com. For a full list of upcoming and recorded coffee breaks, please visit 4nav.com/coffeebreak. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.